Hi, my name is Judith Samper Alvero. I am a lecturer for the Master of Human Experience Design Interactions, and one of the main focuses in my class is 360 video. I am from Spain, and I have a Master in Fine Arts that I studied in Spain and France, and later I studied visual effects in England. In college, I became fascinated about video through video art, and this pushed me to learn more about it, and I worked on a few documentaries while living in England. After this, I worked for a few years in television as a motion graphic artist, as an editor, and as a live broadcasting director. And all that experience brought me to the 360 filmography field about 6 years ago. I worked with several pioneer companies in this media and worked for some of the first VR projects for Disney, Google, the Metropolitan Museum of New York, the New York Times, and NASA. Here you can view my showreel. Before we start talking about 360 video on VR, I need to explain a few concepts related with virtual reality. 360 video is commonly called virtual reality, but there is two main concepts attached to the VR industry. A virtual environment allows us to move and to interact with the world, while a 360 video allows us to explore, but we can interact with the world around us. It is like we are in the center of the sphere and the world encircles us. So walking around won't change our perspective. The first one is generated with game engines and 360 software, and it has a longer history. The second one is created with cameras and post-production software, and is one of the newest storytelling languages that we have. There are production companies experimenting with the mix of both of these two technologies to create other kinds of immersive storytelling. These are some of the cameras used at the beginning of 360 video history. We would use an array of GoPros to cover all the angles and generate and stitch the 360 sphere. We had to be creative with our needs, and this pushed us to assemble custom rigs with DSLR cameras and fisheye lenses to increase the quality of the results, since the GoPro's quality in low light was a little bit poor. Today we finally have professional companies dedicated to create and improve all-in-one solutions for 360 video, which has saved the filmmakers a lot of time, headache, and money. Nowadays, we have consumer cameras that can give us great results and pretty good quality. Sometimes these cameras are even used for professional use as well. This will happen when the space to film is small and a professional camera rig will be a little bit difficult to stitch in this environment. Once we have our 360 video film and edited, there are plenty of formats that make this media accessible to almost everybody. The most immersive way is to use a VR headset. There are plenty of options, like from a cheap Google Cardboard to any VR headset in the market like the Oculus Quest. If we don't have a headset, we can use our own phone and move around. We can move it around us, or you can use our finger to scroll the image. In the same way, we can use the mouse of a computer to pan and scroll the image in 360. These are some of the platforms available to watch 360 video content. They are, the more accessible ones are Vimeo, YouTube, and Facebook. And Oculus TV allows us to view the content within the Oculus headsets. And all this brings us to the presentation of my latest documentary released last year, The Echoing of Fire and Life, Moros y Cristianos, a centuries-old tradition. You can find the full documentary of 14 minutes on the website morosycristianos360.com or by looking for the title on YouTube. Please remember to use the app if you use your phone. If not, you won't be able to use the 360. By the way, 14 minutes in VR is not considered a short movie. Since the documentary was released last year, it has won several awards, nominations, and has been part of several official selections in international festivals. So let me show you the trailer. So, this documentary piece was shot in 2017 during the Festival of Moors and Christians in a small town called VR in Spain. This festival has been celebrated for over 300 years. If I had to pick a word to describe this piece, this would be tradition. The traditions in European countries have an extended and deep meaning. They are passed from one generation to another, growing and adopting new forms along the years, and becoming an important part of the life of the people who celebrate them. Las Fiestas de Moros y Cristianos, how I say it in Spanish, is celebrated in dozens of cities and villages along the Levantine coast in Spain, and there are even versions of it in some places in South America. Although we don't know exactly when they began, the festival has been celebrated for centuries. There is evidence of these celebrations back as early as the 1600s in the village of VR. The festival's origins come from religious and military battles among the Moors and Christians during the conquer that took place between the 8th to the 16th centuries. Here you can see how Spain was divided before it became its actual territory around 500 years ago. The documentary was released the past 10th of May in Spain at 5 p.m., the time that the festival starts every year. In 2020, this festival was one of the first ones affected by the world pandemic of the coronavirus. The release of this particular day was intended as a present to the town that for first time in close to 80 years couldn't celebrate the festivities. The festival in this town lasts 4 days. All businesses close and all the people in the town participate. The first day is the big parade, where all the troops from the Moors and the Christians march with music, horses, dromedaries, fire, and all kind of dance and spectacle. Every morning, the bands and the different groups of Moors and Christian troops march at 7 a.m. with music, waking up everybody in town to continue with the festival. During the second day, there is a simulation of war and a little play based on all transcripts about the conversations and pacts held between both cultures. At the end of this parley, the Moors managed to invade the castle. One of the oldest traditions and very particular from this town is the dance of the spies. People dress as clowns, wander the town taking measures with giant rulers and taking notes, approaching to the castle. They are representing, they're supposedly to be like spy Moors that they are disguised. Behind the spies, a man dressed as a woman brings a vase full of mice. And when they arrive to the square, he will break this vase on the floor and the mice will run away. This vase and the mice represent the Black Plague, allowing the Moors to win the battle this time. After this act, all people in town will dance for hours in a long line, bringing La Mahoma to the castle, where it will stand as a symbol of victory until the next day. La Mahoma is an effigy that represents the Moors' troops. On the following day, another parley and simulation of war will happen, and this time the Christians will win. Right after this happened, the effigy is taken down from the castle, and the people of the town accompany it to a transport that will bring it to the neighboring town, Villena, where they celebrate the same festival in September. There, they will keep this effigy until the beginning of their festival, and they will return it again when the Moors lose over there. The same way the Moors are represented by the effigy, the Christians are represented by a statue of the Virgin Mary that will be brought up in a procession along the town, since the festival is done in her honor. So these kind of festivals and traditions are full of symbologies as well, and as well a lot of anachronisms. Some traditions are the mix of modifications, history, and even misinformation sometimes. They evolve and change with the centuries, but this makes them strong and valuable. Lots of them are based on a religious celebration, especially in Spain, where at one point in history, even festivities originally celebrated by the Romans were transformed and adapted to be a part of the Christian calendar. With the years, these festivals, even if they still have a strong bond with the religion, they have survived because of the tradition and all the passion people put in continuing it. This is just a quick look at what you will find in this documentary. I encourage you to have a look at it, and it will be much more fun than my explanation. And this brings us this question: why did I choose 360 for my project? This is one of the first questions we always ask ourselves as 360 filmmakers. Will this story be different if it was filmed in a traditional format? Filming it in 360 brings something to the story. In this case, the intention of the documentary is to immerse the person inside it, not as a spectator, but as a participant. One of the characteristics of the 360 video language is that the observer becomes an explorer, controlling where to look, while the director determines from what perspective. In this documentary, you are able to experience not only what the festival looks like from outside, you experience what it feels to march with the music inside the troops. You can see from a different perspective of what we are used to it in the traditional video format. You are able to look above the people and look at the face of the effigy, giving us an intimacy with the subject. In a traditional format, we can zoom, but this won't give us the context of the environment around us. Sometimes this kind of shooting is very invasive. We can zoom, like in regular cameras, but the only way to be close to the subject is by putting the camera right there. In documentaries of this type, the shooting is a little bit guerrilla style, and a lot of times I will upset other videographers or photographers because my camera will be right in the shot. So you can imagine, though, in a small town like this with 6,000 people, how curious people were to find out what it was that round thing that I was putting in the middle of the parade or in the face of the people. And as a last thing, I will say that one of the biggest challenges of doing a documentary of this type, alone or with crew, is that to be able to shoot, we need to go far from the camera. And if not, we will be in the shot. In this situation where you don't know if a horse will come or other people with a specific outfit won't be able to pass with your tripod in the middle, you have to be ready to retrieve the camera and stop recording as fast as you can. As you can see, hiding is one of the most important factors in 360. If the environment is controlled, you can create what we call clean plate, or you can hide. That will allow us to remove us from the image, the clean plate. But in this case, it will be impossible. So the best practice will be merging yourself with the space. So this leaves us with a great find while the game inside of any kind of non-controlled environment of 360 documentary. So I encourage you to find me in all the shots of the scene, see how many times you can find me. And I hope you enjoy this presentation and decide to watch the documentary.